So we have realized that we make an awful lot of videos about how to make mead.
But we never talk about what happens after.
So what do you do after? When you have this big bucket of beautiful, amazing mead or a carboy, when it's done fermenting, then what?
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that. Okay, so the first thing, option A, just bottle it. When the fermentation's finished, bottle it.
But make sure the fermentation's finished.
Make sure your fermentation's finished. You might have to stabilize depending on your gravity, your alcohol tolerance, and all that. Let it sit for a while, let the sediment go to the top or the bottom, rack out the middle, bottle it. Now, usually if you bottle straight after fermentation, your meat's going to be a little bit cloudy. You're going to get a little bit of sediment.
Well, how do we clear that out?
If you want clear mead, if you don't want your mead to be cloudy, then you move on to option B. So cold crashing. Now there's a little bit of a common myth that you can use cold crashing to stop a fermentation. That's not true. Cold crashing may pause a fermentation for a short time. May.
Then it can kick back up after it warms back up.
Fermentation is liable to restart after your cold crash. And if your yeast is particularly hardy, it may ferment through that cold crash. It happens. But cold crashing is a really useful technique to help speed along clearing. It'll make all that sediment stick to the bottom just that much faster. Usually it doesn't take but 24 or 48 hours.
There are tablets you can add that makes it clump up though, right?
That is option 3. Option 3, you can add, we have chemicals you can add to it. There's bentonite, which isn't really a chemical. Or there's two-step clearing agents. You can add things to your mead to help it clear.
We tend not to like to use those.
I don't use those very often.
No.
I don't mind cloudy mead, but it more often than not clears all by itself. I'll put some links in the description to some of those clarifying things like bentonite and the two-step stuff and all that. Your next option is stabilizing and backsweetening. We do this one a lot. What the hell happened to you?
I thought it was sugar.
That's flour.
Yeah, I know.
We're not gonna backsweeten with flour.
I thought it was sugar.
I'm not even ready yet.
You know what? Here's your sugar.
When your mead finishes, if it's too dry, if you wish it were a little bit sweeter, you can stabilize it and backsweeten it.
So what do you usually do to backsweeten?
More honey. But you don't have to use honey. You can use anything, really.
I haven't said anything.
Sugar, juice, honey, anything sweet. Make sure you stabilize it first. If you don't stabilize it, fermentation will just restart. Now, there is a safety tip, a bit of a PSA here. You never, ever, ever want to bottle a mead or anything until you're sure the fermentation is finished. The easiest way to make sure fermentation is finished is by gravity, your alcohol tolerance. If your yeast typically craps out at about 12% and you reach 12% alcohol, then it's probably not going to ferment anymore.
Pretty safe.
But sometimes fermentations stall out, and it's very important not to bottle a stalled ferment. You always want to leave it alone for a while, make sure fermentation won't restart, or just stabilize it to make sure fermentation won't restart. Never ever bottle until you're certain that fermentation won't restart.
So, Eric, what happens if it's not stabilized before you bottle?
Bottles can blow up. Now, there is one more thing you can do. You cannot do anything at all. This is a way back when method. Just take the top off, grab some cups, invite some friends over, and have at it. So there you go. After fermentation, you can bottle it, cold crash it, and then bottle it, stabilize it, back sweeten it, then bottle it.
Did you discuss how to stabilize if you don't cold crash?
We made a whole video about that.
Did we?
Yeah,
When?
a while back.
Must have been a while back.
We made a video about that.
Links in the description are up here.
Up here, somewhere's a link to that. It seems we're on a theme here. These usually end up in bottles or kegs,
Kegs are fun.
which is much more better.